I'm Bill Rogers, here to talk about the new 578 Pro Fit holster from Safariland. This is the Generation 3 holster. You can tell it's a Generation 3 because it has no exposed, what we call button head screws. It only has one adjusting screw that you can see. There are one or two Phillips screws on the back, but they're none of the large button head screws. It still comes in our 4 lengths, which is subcompact, our compact, our standard, and our long, which fits like the 1911 and Beretta 92 type weapons. When it comes in the package, it has a choice of a paddle, or in this case, a belt slide. The belt slide has 3 positions. It's easy to make your choice. If you use the belt slide, ensure that you install the little pad here, which reinforces the top of the unit. And it has 3 positions, straight up and down, right and left. The holster comes in a box with a tension device, an Allen screw device, and it also comes with what we call a shim, a trigger shim. Let's talk about adjusting. The normal pistols that have larger trigger guards, which are like your Glocks and M&Ps and H&Ks, Walthers, and many other types of pistols, you can take and actually start off by simply pushing the weapon in the holster. There's no shim in there right now. There is a single adjustment, and the adjustment point is right here. So what you'll do is you'll tighten this thing up, and as you tighten this up, you're simply trying to eliminate the shake in the weapon until you have a nice consistent draw. You need to be able to push the weapon in here, click, and pull back against it and make sure it's locked out. You'll find a sweet spot in there that is just about the same amount of tension to push the weapon in the holster as to draw the weapon. Let's talk about the shim. There are several weapons out here, most of the metal frame weapons and even some of the polymer weapons has a very small trigger guard. Now this is the M&P subcompact gun. It has a fairly wide trigger guard. If I were to take and put in the shield weapon, it appears that it locks up properly, but the problem is that because of the narrow trigger guard, when I were to draw it, it doesn't clear the lock. So the locking device is still in place. So what happens is if I try to reholster, I can't get the weapon back in the holster. If this ever occurs, it's because either you have a trigger guard that's too narrow or you've pushed a pencil or something in and caused it to engage. To disengage, I'm going to press up against the locking device and take my finger and wipe it and close the lock. When we're talking about the way we draw this, we simply take and form a shooting grip on the weapon, and by forming the shooting grip of the weapon, we can press the unlocking device and we can draw the weapon. When we reholster, simply get your finger out of the way, push down it until it clicks. Now since we have this holster, it was set up for the M&P, but the shield, because of the narrow trigger guard, we're going to actually take and change out the shim. So if you go to the back of the holster, there'll be 1 or 2 Phillips screws, not the button head screws, but the Phillips screws. So we're going to simply take and remove that, and when you do, you're going to open it up and you're going to find that this is the trigger block mechanism, and it simply takes and sits right on a post. If you take and hold this in your hand, you'll notice that there is a slot in here we call a keyhole slot. This is the shim that comes with the package. You'll simply go inside, line it up, press it until it clicks in place, and then simply replace the unit. And so you're going to replace it with a screw down, looks just like this, close it back into the sandwich, reinstall the screw, and if you're using a mechanical device, try not to over tighten, just snug it up. And now if we take and put the shield weapon in, it locks in place, and as we draw it, it clears the locking device. Let's talk about the use of the paddle. Many people are confused about how to put the paddle on and take it off, and they grab the grip of the weapon and start trying to do it. We want to use leverage. We want to grab the muzzle so we have some leverage ability. You're going to use your thumb and middle finger to separate the paddle. Simply put it inside your trousers, and now I need to pull this away from my body and go all the way down underneath the belt. Now it's locked, can't come off. Adjust it to a comfortable position that's very concealable. It's easy to draw from it, and now to remove it, we'll simply use the opposing hand, trap the paddle underneath your clothing, and pry out. You have to pry out about 1 or 2 inches to make sure that the locking device is clear, and then just simply pull up. This is the easiest way to take and use our paddle holster to put it off and on. It is also the most comfortable.